For more than 10 years, Cher locked away a story that could shake the music world. She kept quiet about a gentle yet mighty friendship with the late keyboard wizard Leon Russel. She did not hide him out of neglect. She did it out of deep respect. Cher now shares that the silence came because Leon mattered too much for quick sound bites. Their link was never about stage glitz or gossip. It was a private exchange of honesty that tabloids could never print. Both stars felt the crushing pressure of bright lights and lonely hotel rooms. They carried fame like heavy luggage, yet they found comfort in each other's truth. Leon was hailed as a genius on the piano. To Cher, he was more than a peer. He translated feelings that words could not reach. Many of their sessions happened with no cameras. Those hours were more than music. They acted like therapy that sang back to broken hearts. Cher says his ballads lived inside her. The notes became part of her own voice long after the studio went dark. She smiles while recalling how Leon could make a piano weep. He turned pure silence into something holy. He blended gospel blues and rock so smoothly that it shaped Cher's own taste and lifted an entire generation. Even today, as she warms up for a show, she hears his phrasing whisper in her mind. Each slow southern chord still draws tears. Listeners gasped at the tenderness in her voice. What bound them was not just melody, but shared vulnerability. They traded late-night calls where they spilled secrets about fame, isolation, and broken dreams. No explanation was needed between them. Rumors of romance followed, yet Cher neither confirms nor denies. She points to a soul bond that cut deeper than dating. Leon gave with an open heart. He listened more than he spoke, and understood the sting of being an outsider in a polished industry. His death in 2016 crushed her. She spoke hardly a word in public because the pain felt too heavy. Stars are trained to flash strength, not sorrow, and crowds want glitter, not tears. Behind closed doors, she wept for songs left unfinished and apologies never voiced. The loss felt like walking through fog. Photos showed her sparkling in sequins, yet inside she wrestled with emptiness. Private grief can be the loneliest stage. As the years passed, the hurt softened into memory. Turning 78 made her ask what legacy remains. She decided Leon must never fade. Telling their story became her medicine. She now sees the silence as a chapter, not a scar. To artists, she shouts embrace what makes you different. Leon never bent himself to fit a room. He bent the room to fit him. That is real power. To fans, she reminds us that not every love story is romantic. Some are written in piano chords and quiet pain, and in the tiny spaces between words. How did this powerful link begin? Picture Los Angeles in the early 60s with tape reels spinning and cigarette smoke curling in narrow booths. Both young yet wildly gifted crossed paths in that electric maze. Before magazine covers, Cher was a teenage session singer, lending her deep voice to Phil Spector hits like Be My Baby. At the same time, Leon, an Oklahoma prodigy, sat among the famous Wrecking Crew, playing piano on countless tracks that still fill jukeboxes. Their first meeting likely happened in those crowded studios. No grand greeting, just a nod across a cluttered soundboard. Talent ruled those rooms. If you could sing, play, or fix a broken groove, you were family. Cher would be called at midnight for last-minute harmonies. Leon would already be at the keys carving out rhythms that lifted whole songs. From those small encounters grew a friendship that time tried to hide yet never broke. Long nights in Studio City turned into dawn while they chased perfect takes. Between reels, they would swap memories about lost friends and fresh ideas that scared them. Cher recalls Leon tapping a beat on an empty coffee cup, then smiling as she matched it with a soft hum. That small hook later blossomed into a song the public never heard. She treasures a demo, like a secret postcard from the past. During quiet tours, they sent each other postcards stamped only with song titles. It was their code for moods they could not type on paper. Russel's handwriting still lives in her dressing room drawer. Each card carries a different shade of blue ink and a tiny sketch of a piano. Cher admits that every time stage lights blind her, she feels his presence at the bench ready to anchor her with one calm chord. Industry insiders often try to book them together for flashy duets. They refused. Their magic belonged to hushed corners, not televised countdowns. In one rare event, they joined for a charity jam. The audience heard thunderous applause, yet only they noticed the gentle nod they shared between verses. It was a silent promise of support. After Leon's passing, Cher found herself replaying old tapes for comfort. She says the hiss of those analog reels feels like hearing him breathe. For months she could not sing certain keys because they reminded her of his range. She took long drives along the coast, letting the wind drown out the ache. Friends urged her to record a tribute album. She hesitated, worrying it might feel forced. Healing had to come naturally. She began to journal each memory. Page by page, fog lifted. She realized telling the truth was the best monument. Her new openness has sparked fresh interest in Leon's catalog. Streams of his classics have doubled since her interview aired. Fans young and old are rediscovering his raw soul. Cher is thrilled. She laughs that Leon would blush at the attention, yet secretly love it. She also shares an unseen side of his humor. Leon liked pranking session musicians by slipping blank sheets onto music stands right before take. Laughter always followed as players scrambled. These stories reveal a man full of warmth despite his shy public image. They crush any myth that he was only a reclusive genius. Critics are now rewriting Russel's legacy thanks to Cher's vivid memories. Articles praise not only his skill, but his kindness. Cher points out that survival in show business often depends on real allies. Leon was that ally when she doubted her own path after the breakup of Sonny and Cher. He quietly invited her to an after-hours jam where no one judged her. That night rebooted her confidence. She now urges young performers to seek honest mentors instead of chasing gossip columns. True guidance lights a longer road. When she finally stood at Leon's grave in Tulsa, she whispered a promise to keep singing brave songs. That vow fuels her tours today. She ends every rehearsal with a small salute toward the ceiling. The crew might think it is habit. It is actually for him. Cher knows the clock keeps ticking. Yet she claims their collaboration still grows because music lives outside time. This confession is not a finale. It is an open door that invites listeners to feel the same courage to speak honest love before it is too late. Cher's tale of silence, friendship, grief, and renewal shows that behind every glittering costume beats a fragile heart that longs to be heard. So when you press play on a Leon Russel track or watch Cher glide across a stage, remember the invisible thread that ties them together. It shouts that truth will always find its melody. Feel the pressure in the room. Phil Spector's booming wall of sound demanded players who could switch styles in a heartbeat and still sparkle under glaring studio lights. That feverish setting shaped both Cher and Leon Russel into fearless creators. Yet neither was content to stay a hidden cog in Spector's mighty machine. Leon stepped forward writing songs, producing albums, and finally launching a daring solo run that broke every rule in sight. By the late 1960s, he was on the road, with Joe Cocker pumping out hits for Shelter Records that he co-founded and dropping boundary-smashing albums of his own. Cher was changing too. Her new record shed the early pop image, while a blooming acting career pushed her into fresh fame. She never lost her love for music, and her choice of partners proved she respected bold spirits like Leon, who refused to fit neat boxes. During that wild season when both artists were fighting for space as true voices, not background extras, they spotted a mirror in each other. Each had paid long dues in the shadows and was finally ready to shout a personal truth. Fame can feel like a glass cage. Cher and Leon knew that sting all too well. Out front, Cher dazzled with fearless fashion, while Leon lurked behind long hair and mystery, yet both protected fragile inner selves from a public that chews up stars. Cher often speaks about the lonely road that trails a spotlight, especially for women. Years went by before she earned full respect for her craft. Leon faced a similar wall. Fellow legends such as Bob Dylan and Elton John cheered him on, yet everyday listeners mostly shrugged. Being misunderstood pulled them together. Cher later told fans their tie was never about romance. It was so deep. They recognized the price of art and the hush of hidden hurt. So what tore them apart? Get ready for the quiet twist. There was no headline fight and no firestorm. Life simply moved. Careers shift, priorities change, and people drift like boats in different currents. Their last chats were likely warm yet unfinished as time slipped away in a blur of tour buses and sound checks. Cher shot higher into pop culture film and television, while Leon stepped back from the glare, choosing raw independence over chart glory. The grind of decades created natural distance. No angry words, just two paths bending towards separate horizons. Silence never stole the love, though. Cher says Leon's spirit still played in her head long after calls stopped. His music is humor, and their secret memories kept echoing. When Leon passed in 2016, the entire music family felt an ache, yet Cher stayed publicly quiet. That hush was grief in disguise. She admits now that loose ends between them lingered not as anger, but as unfinished thoughts she had not faced. Real bonds often fade with faint rings, not crashing doors. Missed calls, late letters, unspoken lines marked the curtain fall. Cher and Leon's story ended that gentle way. What lasts is not a tale of drama, but of two bright souls who crossed, met, drifted, yet never cut the invisible string. Some relationships do not explode or whisper goodbye. They simply freeze like a paused record. Now spin the record back to the start of Leon's rise. Born Claude Russel Bridges in Lawton, Oklahoma, in 1942, he dazzled neighbors on piano before kindergarten. Even slight cerebral palsy in his right hand could not stop him. He trained his left hand into a thunderous engine that became his signature roar. At 17, armed with a stage name borrowed from a fake ID, he joined Jerry Lee Lewis on tour, soaking up the fiery mix of gospel and rock that would shape his future groove. By the mid-60s, Leon ruled Los Angeles studios as a first-call session ace. He joined the elite wrecking crew cutting tracks for Spector the Beach Boys Jan and Dean Bob Dylan, Frank Sinatra, and Barbra Streisand. Producer Herb Alpert once laughed that the rhythm section would start coming to him when he played, because Leon's pocket was that strong. His pounding keys powered Spector's dense wall of sound and lit up the all-star Tammy show in 1964, winning new praise with every thunderous chord. Leon's own voice broke through soon after. His first single, Everybody's Talking About the Young, hit shelves in 1965, while his psychedelic gospel duo The Asylum Choir tested fresh ideas. The partnership never topped charts, yet it sharpened Leon's bold blend of church soul rock and wild studio tricks. In 1969, he and producer Denny Cordell launched Shelter, record to create a playground that later lifted Tom Petty to Heartbreakers, J.J. Cale, Phoebe Snow, Dwight Twilley, and blues king Freddie King. The label stamped Leon's vision on the entire southern rock, blues, country, and folk wave of the 70s. Every step shows a man who refused limits, just like the friend who still smiles and shares memories. Their shared journey proves that true art links hearts even when miles and years slide in between. Leon Russell's rise to stardom came fast and loud with his self-titled debut solo album. This record packed unforgettable tracks, like A Song for You and Delta Lady, with an all-star guest list that still stuns today. Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, George Harrison, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Ringo Starr all lent their magic to the sessions. This was Leon's breakthrough moment, the quiet genius finally stepping into his own spotlight. In 1972, he delivered Carney, the album that shot to number 2 on the Billboard charts and introduced timeless songs like Tightrope and This Masquerade. George Benson's later version of This Masquerade even snagged a Grammy. Leon's live shows were pure electricity. His albums Leon Live in 1973 and Live in Japan in 1975 turned up the heat, proving his stage presence could shake audiences to the core. But Leon was never just a performer. He commanded the stage as a bandleader and organizer. He led Joe Cocker's legendary Mad Dogs and Englishman tour in 1970, steering both the live shows and the album. His group, the Shelter People, packed stadiums and raked in millions in ticket sales. With his signature top hat, wild beard, and raspy voice, Leon became a rock icon. The stage was his church, and the music was a spiritual force. Russell shattered musical boundaries again and again under his alter ego, Hank Wilson. He explored country, honky-tonk, and bluegrass. His gospel-infused will-o-the-wisp delivered hits like Lady Blue that climbed the top 40. He roamed into blues rock with Guitar Blues, jazz standards on Life Journey, and even holiday hymns with Christmas albums. His range was unmatched. Behind the scenes, Leon's production skills were just as bold. He helped guide Bob Dylan's soulful piano work in 1971, revived blues legend Freddie King's career, and teamed up with Willie Nelson on One for the Road in 1979, a gold-certified album that cracked the top 3 on the country charts. Leon wasn't just a musician. He was a game-changer in both music and business. His Sky Hill home studio in Los Angeles set the stage for artist-controlled recording spaces. He was among the first to use cutting-edge Chamberlins, early synthesizers, and programmable drum machines. He even filmed music videos before MTV made them popular. But Leon's journey wasn't always smooth. Personal struggles like financial troubles, public controversies, and painful experiences of racism during his interracial marriage cast long shadows. Yet, his music never faded. His classics A Song for You, This Masquerade, and Superstar became timeless anthems, covered by hundreds of artists across generations and genres. His Shelter Records label launched careers that changed the sound of American music forever. Fans still call Leon singular, and praise his raw, stripped-down brilliance. Among his masterpieces, A Song for You stands tall as the crown jewel, a heart-wrenching ballad written in less than 10 minutes. Leon revealed he crafted it to connect Ray Charles' soul with Frank Sinatra's style, showing just how vast his artistic vision was. Over 200 artists have covered it, including legends like Donny Hathaway, Herbie Hancock, and Aretha Franklin. Each version carries Leon's emotional blueprint. This Masquerade was another gem. Leon recorded it first in 1972, but George Benson's soulful take in 1976 grabbed a Grammy and major commercial success. Russel had a special gift for mixing sorrow and elegance, a blend that hit deep during the rock-dominated 70s. From Carney, Tightrope delivered a twisted, whimsical metaphor on the delicate life of a performer. The music video, years ahead of MTV, revealed Leon's knack for weaving storytelling into his visuals. His songs reflected his real struggles, the battle between fame and isolation, love and heartbreak, faith and despair. But Leon wasn't just pounding piano keys. He reinvented the instrument in modern music. Raised on gospel and blues, he stirred in rock's energy and jazz's improvisation. Unlike the polished techniques of his classically trained peers, Leon's playing was raw and human. Every note echoed his Oklahoma roots, bold and rebellious. His pounding barrelhouse style made the keys sound like they were on fire. Elton John credited Leon for showing how piano could lead a rock band with the same swagger as any electric guitar. Elton even said, "Without Leon, there wouldn't have been an Elton John." Leon's career was packed with historic collaborations, even if some got overlooked. His time with the Wrecking Crew in the 60s sharpened his skills. He switched effortlessly from Spector's pop to Dylan's folk rock to Sinatra's lounge soul. In 1971, Russell was center stage at the concert for Bangladesh, organized by George Harrison and Ravi Shankar to raise awareness for refugees. His mashup of Jumpin' Jack Flash and Young Blood stole the show, blending British rock and American soul into a roaring, gospel-inspired climax. With wild hair and that signature top hat, Leon stood tall alongside legends like the Beatles and Rolling Stones. His role in Joe Cocker's Mad Dogs and Englishman tour became the stuff of rock history. As musical director, arranger, and keyboardist, Leon kept the chaotic tour from falling apart. The project launched the careers of backup singers and musicians and proved Leon's gift for building stars. But he wasn't just building acts. He was building an empire. In 1969, he co-founded Shelter Records with Denny Cordell, fostering talent like Tom Petty, J.J. Cale, Phoebe Snow, and Freddie King. Shelter Records stood for musical freedom, a cause Leon defended even at great personal cost. His Sky-O studios gave artists total control over recording. Sky-O rejected the big label pressure and prioritized creativity. Leon also embraced tech innovation. He experimented with Chamberlins, early synthesizers, reel-to-reel sampling, and even shot music videos years before the trend exploded. Still, fame is fleeting. During the 80s and 90s, his star dimmed. Changing musical trends, tough record deals, and personal hardships pulled him toward obscurity. He kept recording and touring for his loyal cult fan base, but mainstream attention drifted. Leon faced backlash for his interracial marriage to fellow musician Mary McCreary, a bold love story that challenged social expectations during racially tense times. The couple recorded the gospel-filled wedding album in 1976, blending soulful duets and heartfelt lyrics, a clear stand against industry norms and prejudice. His legacy lives on not just in records, but in blood, spirit, and song. If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe, and watch the next video on your screen for more legends and hidden truths.